Hello and welcome back to Liberty, Missouri for Kaiser Media's coverage of Grip Equipment's 42nd Kansas City Wide Open presented by DFX Discs. This is a Disc Golf Pro Tour Q Series event and we're very excited to bring you this coverage. I'm Nathan Johnson, joined in the booth today by Dan Brooks Wells. How's it going, Dan?
Doing good, man. This is a tough and challenging course we've been watching here, and it's hot out today. Who do we got on this lead card?
Yeah, we got GT Hancock leading the way, followed by Jake Monn, Parker Welck, and Kevin Kiefer. Taking a look at the rest of the top 10. Plenty of guys in the mix, and like you said, Dan, this is a very challenging track, so I'm expecting we'll see plenty of shifting up and down the leaderboard as we go throughout the day.
Yeah, and we are starting here on hole 1, par 4, 575 feet. There is a OB pond. A lot of players shoot out to the left and then pitch up to the green, or some of the bigger arms try and actually go for this farther left landing zone, or just go for the green itself. But either way, you're having to deal with OB.
Yeah, fun starting hole. We got GT Hancock leading us off after that 7 under first round. Already took down a Q Series event this year at the Capital of Texas Open, so he would love to grab another dub here this week and really secure his spot in the qualifying series finale at the end of this year. That tee shot will work out just fine over there, inbounds, short left.
Yeah, the farther you get off the tee, the easier it is to approach the green because you don't have to put so much, I'd say, power on the shot, but it's doable from anywhere. So here is Jake Monn. Have you seen Jake play before?
Yeah, I've watched him play a couple times. He's a South Carolina guy, not too far away from me. He's usually out and about on the tour. That's going to be a difficult approach from the woods there, but should work out just fine. Got Parker Welck on the lead card as well. Apparently, I've heard that Parker's car was stolen the night before this round, and with it, all of his discs. So apparently the discs in this bag are all brand new to him. We will see how that affects his play in this second round.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's it either puts all the pressure on or takes it all off because you're like, well, it's not my discs. But those last two guys, they're going for that second landing zone and just catch that pine tree. And here is Kevin Kiefer, and you can see the brace on his knee. I'm sure you guys have heard that he is coming off of surgery, and he's having a good year so far.
Yeah, he's had some great finishes on the Pro Tour. That is a nice tee shot, gets him past those bushes on the left-hand side, and should have a nice upshot into the green. Still a tricky approach with the fast green behind the basket, and obviously you don't want to come up short in that OB pond, so not the easiest approach, even though it is typically fairly short after how much these guys are biting off their tee shots, and that is a tough break for Parker. Just has to pitch out of that thick tree.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of guys just go for that first landing zone. At least you're guaranteed, an upshot. And Jake not able to stick the green and comes up a little short.
Yeah, interesting decision to go with the jump putt there. Just didn't get quite enough on it.
Yeah, usually, oh wow, rolling down the road. Usually this is the mistake people make, just going too far and being, just pitching up to take your par.
Just a jump putt approach for Parker after pitching out. And yeah, Jake is going to be left with this short of the island or peninsula green to save his par. Just comes up a bit short. Not what you're looking for. This is one of the softer holes on the course to start the round. Although nobody really in position to get a birdie.
Yeah, and if you watched coverage yesterday, you'll know that every hole played above par. Not the case today, as players are starting to figure it out, but it's still playing tough. And wind can pick up at any time here in Kansas, as I'm sure everybody knows.
We've got, even this is still a tough putt for Jake. A bit of a headwind uphill for
I think
bogey
that's a
now.
I think that's a pretty good headwind. That's pretty stiff. Look at the branches above him. That's tough running that because he has to do somewhat of a nose up putt in a headwind looking at OB. And same kind of thing here for Parker.
Catches a lot of chains but doesn't quite stick it. So some early struggles for the lead card. No eagles on this one today. I believe we did have one in round one, so we'll see if anybody gets aggressive in the third and final round and brings us some highlights.
It's possible. If this hole were later in the round, I'm sure we'd see more people push for it if they need that stroke. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But either way, very cool starting hole. Hole 2, par 3, 359 feet. We are going to fly by this short basket and heading to this new long position with the built-up green. You can see the shortcut grass. It is OB outside of that. So looking like a fairway driver, just pumping it up the middle and trying to keep it straight the whole way.
This is looking nice from Hancock. Just fades out a little bit. Probably have right around a circle's edge uphill putt for his birdie coming up. I love how these two pillars kind of frame the gap very nicely on this hole. I'm sure they can get into your head as Kevin just pulls that one a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen players who are comfortable with thumbers they just go over them, so you don't have to worry about them. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a feature here.
Yeah, I think that would have worked a little better in the previous configuration of this hole when it was a little bit shorter. True. Now at the 359-foot distance, players need to give it, and especially being uphill, players need to give it a little bit more of a full rip.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. This probably plays more like 390.
You see most of these guys going with that fairway driver kind of slot as Jake. Just an early release. Kicks left into the rough.
Yeah. And this course can get after your mental game early, so you got to make sure you stay locked in and just keep fighting because it's a long round.
Kind of an awkward release there for Kevin. Gonna have to be scrambling now. These guys just looking to limit the damage. As Jake's gonna have another long putt. Oh, and there's that out of bounds.
Man, it is. So the wind is blowing right to left, and it just held it out there. I don't think that was a regular flight for that disc. And
Yeah,
this
nice
is not.
for...
I was gonna say these are not guarantees.
No, these 20-foot uphill headwind putts on this basket are going to be interesting.
That is a good putt.
Yeah, even though it's for double bogey, still limiting the damage and connecting from circle's edge uphill in a strong headwind. Hopefully can get Jake's confidence up and moving him in the right direction as we see Hancock just a bit off.
Yeah, just on that right side. Kevin going to have to settle for the bogey. Watch that. Don't be tripping over the rocks, Kevin. Come on now.
Yeah.
Be careful.
And I believe this should be a par putt for Welck. Yeah, a bit of a slow start for some of these guys. GT, after just 2 holes in, has himself a 4-stroke. Excuse me.
Wow, yeah,
lead.
That's quick and just taking pars, right? I mean, this again. We keep saying it. Course play is difficult, and that hole surprisingly played 0.62 over par. So, not getting easier today. This is a par 4, 605 feet here at hole 3. Getting through this tight gap. We saw some rollers through there yesterday. Getting to about this landing zone, and then you have to decide whether you're throwing a forehand or a backhand into this slanting green, being wary of distance control and angle control.
Yeah, a lot of different choices on this tee shot. Looks like Hancock just going with the standard backhand play through that left side gap. Couldn't really see it on the drone flight, but a lot of players decide to go that way. That gap is just as big as, if not bigger, than the one you see
Yeah.
straight ahead on this tee shot.
Yeah, that's going to be. I mean, he's essentially going to be trying to get to where GT is, right? There's really nothing else to do. Try to save his power.
Yeah, the shape of this hole doesn't really let players bite off too much more than that, as it's just a landing zone tee shot. So if you're not in that landing zone, you really can't go over to the green. Kevin is going to be in a very similar spot.
And all four of our players going for that left side gap, and that is a beaut right there. He's going to be in the best position. And not for nothing, but yesterday we saw a bunch of rollers and everybody got through. So I'm liking that play still.
Yeah, it seems to be working, especially with the uphill that you get. Kind of allows the disc to run out of steam, and you don't really bring any of the OB into play with that roller. So here are these guys up shots into the green. Dan, how far are they looking at here on these shots?
Yeah, you're looking at 316. It's a little uphill, right? So this happens a lot. It just, because of the way the hill shapes right to left, slanting, if it's to the left side of the basket, usually you get a skip OB. But this was played beautifully, landing it on the top side of the hill and letting it play to the pin. But the thing is, like, those telephone poles, that's kind of what you want to aim at. So they're in your head. So a lot of the times people short arm it.
Well thrown shot from Kiefer as well, going out and around those poles. Jake opting for a similar line. Going a little deep, but checks up in time.
That'll do. Yeah, if you can get it, if you can have the confidence to throw a hyzer around, I think that's the play.
So that is a par save missed from GT Hancock. Going to drop a stroke here. Still looking for our first birdie of the day, and Monn just a bit low and not able to grab it for himself.
We got a really good par save by both Welck and Kiefer, not making the gap off the tee. Basically like half a birdie if you think about it. I mean, that's tough. I always like to think of, like, as a scramble stroke as getting a stroke on people, because everyone's going to have to scramble at some point. So if you're able to execute that scramble stroke, maybe the next guy isn't. Walking up here to hole 4, this is a par 4, 939 feet. Playing a dogleg to the right, you're trying to throw a shot that gets right about to here, and then you're approaching just straight look into the basket. Green slopes a little left to right, OB behind it. The main mistake we see is people go too far off the tee, and they get behind the group of trees and cut off their angle. So my favorite shot is a slow turning backhand that just keeps turning down the hill. Kind of like this. Oh, yeah.
Perfect placement there from Welck. It's going to be set up very nicely for the second shot. Yeah, this tee shot looks like you just want to rip it as far as you possibly can. But that can kind of get you into some trouble, as it is a very specific spot to set you up for that dog leg, right?
Yeah, and Kevin going with more of a, I'd say, stable shot, throwing an overstable disc out there and just letting it hyzer out. He's going to be farther away from the pin than Welck. But again, not getting into any trouble. And there's a good shot by Monn as well. As long as you're looking into the green, you got a chance.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. Not worth trying to bite off a ton of distance off the tee, but this is coming out a bit low for Hancock, and he is going to be short of that landing zone. Interesting to see what he decides to do here. Can get aggressive and go big turnover. This looks a bit overcooked.
Yeah, that needs to come out. So there are some gaps in those trees, but if you get in there, it's tough to be at one of them. Oh, look at this wind. Just take it. And the trees are like, you know what? Get back out there. Get in the game, kid.
Yeah, it does find the fairway, luckily, at the end of the flight, but it was looking nice out of Kevin's hand, but just strong winds, head left to right, it looks like. Did not let that disc stay stable. That was a very well thrown shot from Monn. Good disc selection as well. Kept it online the entire flight.
Yeah. This might be one of the most beautiful holes on this course. That green's looking good. So we got a couple birdie putts coming up.
Just layups so far. I think we'll see Parker give this one a go, probably just in shallow circle 2. Tailwind just never quite got at the height.
There's a good strike by Monn to get his round going.
Finally got ourselves a birdie. Took these guys long enough.
A little bit.
Maybe just giving those chase and third cards some time to catch up, make things interesting. But now you guys can turn it on.
Yeah. Let's go here. This is a tough one to do it on, but let's do it. It's hole 5, par 4, 624 feet. This left side gap is the preferred gap. There is a right side as well. Getting up to this landing zone right about here, you can either toss it over this pond or there are paths to the left.
Yeah, daunting tee shot through this tunnel. Pretty much need to get all the way through if you want any chance of going over on your second shot. This is very well thrown from Jake Monn. Nice hyzer flip. And that'll put him in a great spot.
Yeah, and this is a common play, taking an overstable fairway or driver and just ripping it, letting it work its way out. That's going to be pretty perfect.
Yeah, I think he got a little squirrely down the right-hand side, but ended up working out. This is more what you're looking for with the forehand. Gets through. Dan, you were saying there's a local line on that right-hand side, right? But these guys are not. That's not what they were going for.
It doesn't seem like it. The route on the right side is not very forehand friendly. It's more of like a turning backhand, but it's there. GT gets knocked down a little early, and he will be scrambling. Probably trying to pitch it up like right before the pond would be my guess.
Yeah, we saw a couple players kind of laying in this similar spot in round 1 and end up going down the left-hand side, and that was a really well-thrown shot. It's going to have actually an outside look.
Yeah.
Uphill putt for the birdie.
Now, it seemed like the drone flew to a different basket than what we're seeing there, but I believe that's the one we're playing to. And you got to be careful with those trees and getting kicks to the right because that could easily get into the pond.
Kevin Kiefer showing us the over the pond backhand route into the green. Very well thrown. Good height on that one to deal with the ceiling. But Parker looking to the skies, I think.
Get it up there, spike it in.
Yeah, works out well. Comes up a bit short, but he'll have an uphill birdie putt.
So you can run at this one pretty hard because the green is very sloped up, so your disc ain't really going anywhere. But unfortunately, Monn catches one of those guardian trees, and he'll have a, I think, just outside the circle. Look here.
Yeah, he didn't like it out of the hand. I looked like it had a chance, but just a bit right on the par save. Tough stroke to drop after grabbing the birdie on hole 4. Couple more circle 2 looks coming up. Parker up first. Bit uphill, probably around 40 feet.
Decent strike, just coming up a little left of the basket there. It's good to hit less on this green because if you're hitting basket, there's a good chance it's going to roll. Same thing for Hancock there. You either want to make it or miss it completely.
All right, Kevin Kiefer, last chance on the card for a birdie here. Able to knock it down from about 25 feet. Gets him back to even par.
Yeah, nothing wrong with being even on this course. Can really beat you up, as we've seen. Getting a little of these birdies here and there, sprinkle them in, and trying to, scramble for your par. It's kind of the name of the game here.
Yeah, plenty of tight gaps and thick rough will make it almost impossible to shoot a bogey-free round out here. So you got to
We
make
got
sure to take your chances when you get them.
Yeah, what hole did we get to yesterday? I think hole 12 was the first bogey for 2 of our players.
Yeah,
And
which is crazy impressive.
very impressive. And also here at hole 6, this is a par 4, 658 feet. You can take this inside gap. You really want to get to this landing zone, maybe pushing a little bit farther than what the drone flew. There's 2 different gaps that you can hit into this green then, which is kind of S-ing into it. Tough green to access, tough landing zone to hit. They have moved this tee pad back as of last year, making this shot a little bit more difficult. Now, if you go straight off this tee, you can see the long grass. That is OB.
Yeah, demanding tee shot thrown well by Kevin Kiefer. Maybe a bit short. Might have to go to a flex forehand to access that gap. Could be a bit pinched off.
Yeah, it's possible he finds like a forehand roller through there, but yeah, you need to throw that pushing hyzer. It needs to flip up and glide a little farther than what you would expect, I would say.
Yeah, not a bad result for Welck. He's going to be a little farther away from the gap, which should give him a better angle into the green. Oh, that was
Oh
looking nice
no.
out of the hand from Hancock. Catches a limb, but actually still a great result.
That's perfect. You can see he's looking right at that large gap. Well, relatively large gap compared to what everything else that's there.
Yeah, and a similar result for Jake Monn to where we saw Kevin. See what these guys end up going with. Parker Welck going to be up first, opting for that flex forehand or maybe a roller. Hard to know what the intent was there.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was a flex, but he does cut roll into the woods, and we're gonna have to see what he has there. This is a roller.
What a nice creative play from Jake Monn, going with the understable forehand roller.
He's not in a great spot. That got a lot of distance, but it doesn't seem like he's in a very good spot.
Yeah, it never quite got back left enough at the end to find the original gap. And this is a picture-perfect drive. He's basically throwing straight at the basket from here.
Oh
And that is
yeah.
pured.
Oh my goodness. That's it. That's how you play this hole.
Never a doubt. We got 3 guys still scrambling to save their pars now. Nice upshot from Kevin Kiefer. First, should be able to connect on that putt.
Here we have Welk scrambling out of the woods here. Definitely some gaps to hit, tight ones. I think he got knocked down a little early.
Not a difficult scramble for Monn. Just a Nice simple pitch up. So yeah, Parker landed right about circle's edge for his par. Nice putt there to knock it down and limit the damage. Or actually no damage, I should say.
Yeah, no damage at all. Those are important putts, right? Like those keep your momentum going too. If you can get a good scramble off and make those long par putts, you know, spirits stay high. And just an absolute awesome birdie by Hancock.
Yeah, played the hole very well. Gets himself back to even par. Hole 6 surprisingly played as the hardest hole on the course this round.
Yeah. Only
which
3
is
birdies on the day.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Randy Dueck and Corbin Milcheski, the other two.
Hole 7, par 3, 420 feet. This is a tunnel shot the entire way. There's OB left, OB right. If you kick a tree, you're in danger of that. So you're just looking to keep it straight, get maybe a nice skip up and into the basket.
Yeah, pretty daunting tee shot. Anything up in the circle 2 range is, I think these guys would be happy with. Great looking shot from Hancock. Oh, why settle for circle 2 when you just base it? Yeah, let's take another look.
I mean, that's the dream shot.
Just a little baby flex, hyzer flip to turn, and it should have hit the pole.
I think he grazed it. I don't know.
Wow, yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to follow that up. That's one of the best shots we've seen all tournament.
Yeah, this one a little high, a little turned. Probably needs to hit something to stay in.
It does hit something, but at the end of the flight,
yeah, it's a common thing for this to happen because of the 420 foot kind of somewhat of a low ceiling. You have to like put a good amount of juice on it. So pulling it to the right is just or flipping up or pulling it to the right is just a common thing to happen.
Jake makes the correction, but doesn't quite get that disc to flip up enough. Fades out a bit early, but might have an outside look at it depending on how those trees line up.
Yeah, and these approach shots become touchy here. There's a couple guardian trees you need to get by. Just kind of like that. So a little bit of a tester to save his par.
Yeah, about the same distance he had on that last putt. Kevin did find the out of bounds, so he's just going to jump putt here to get up and down for a bogey. Let's see if Jake Monn can knock down a deep one.
Just a bit short.
As we see Parker knock down a nice par putt there. I'm surprised we're not seeing Jake go to the step putt. I know in the past he's relied on that a lot from that circle 2 range, but today he's been kind of just standstilling everything. I don't know if that's a change he made recently, or maybe I just haven't seen him play since last year.
Yeah, that's a good point. People are always changing, right? Always trying new stuff, seeing if it works. He's testing it out. So here at hole 8, this is a par 4, 756 feet. Let's get out of this tight tunnel into this open fairway, up and over this hill, off to the right where you see that big tree here. OB lining the right side into this kind of pretty guarded basket here.
Yeah, another very demanding hole. Tough to bite off too much off this tee shot due to that branch that creates a low ceiling and the uphill creating the low floor. most players just kind of just trying to get out there, drive something into the hill, and then take what you get from there.
Oh, this is pured.
Yeah,
Never a
very
doubt.
well thrown from Parker there. Put him in good position.
This will do as well. They're not getting out as far as we saw some of our players yesterday, but it's safe. Like if you don't get out of this gap, it is a tough par to save. We'll see if Kevin tries to push this a little farther up and to the right.
Yeah, is opting for the forehand, hits the line well, and yeah, a little more distance bitten off on that shot, but still a long second into the green for all of these guys, just looking to blast something up by that tree you can see in the distance. This is looking good for Monn. See if it has the legs.
Yeah, just a little short. I'd say a lot of people throw a flex into this just to get the distance. So he just stood one up. Um, but most of the time you're seeing more of a flex type shot.
Oh,
That
pulled.
stayed to the right. Finds the OB. And this tree that that you see, that's the one that the basket is under, obviously. But that's the only visual they have to go off of. And that is a common play or a common error where it just hyzers out early. And all you can do is pitch up and in.
Yeah, difficult upshot, being almost completely blind with the uphill run up as well. Kevin coming up short left as well, so they'll have some long birdie putts. GT, I guess they're saying he never crossed, so basically has to rethrow from back here short of the OB.
Yeah, that is a tough break, and that's why people throw overstable. Just pitch out to the left, really. But that's a fantastic recovery shot. I mean, he's dunking it from there.
Yeah, should have a tap in bogey, which is not the worst case scenario. We got some outside circle 2 looks coming up for these guys. Definitely runnable with the uphill.
Get it. Ah, it's a tad short. Here is Kevin for the last birdie try. Yeah. And then here's the challenge too. If you run this putt hard, these like little branches and vines and bushes are not far behind.
Yeah, just an awkward little par putt there for Parker. Able to make it work. Kevin about 2 feet closer makes all the difference. Able to tap that in. And yeah, hole 8 definitely showing its teeth. It played as the 5th hardest on the course at a 4.65 average with only 7 birdies on the day. So majority of the field at par or worse.
It's just amazing to me. 0.65 over par, and it was only the 5th hardest. It's
Yeah.
crazy. We are getting to a hole that is not as hard as that one. Hole 9, par 3, 268 feet, low ceiling, and it's kind of a low ground as well, or a high ground as well. So it's a very precise gap that you have to hit. Now, the other part of this too is this grass is pretty thick, so there's not really much of a skip you can get. You got to air it to the basket.
Yeah, Parker just about a foot too high there, catches the branch. That kind of creates that low ceiling.
Yeah. And, there's two main plays we see, which is throw the mid to get the glide there, or throw the fairway and just try and blast it through.
Kind of see the frustration starting to build for Jake. Bit of a high release for him as well.
Now the other part of this too. Now, obviously players aren't thinking about this, but if you do end up hitting one of these, those guardian trees like right before the gap, if you kick left or right, you're pretty much pitching out for the most part. So that's where this hole shows its teeth as well. And that's a common play, right? Like he hit the gap, didn't get much of a skip, and now he's outside the circle, but he is still putting for his birdie.
Yeah, not a bad result for Kiefer. Kind of got a bit of a skip too off of that hard pan that you see just before the grass. This looks very nice.
Whoa.
Gets a nice little reaction off the limb.
You see that just pop his nose up and he got the glide and push there. That was pretty cool.
Monn is in a tough spot. Scrambling from that left side, like you said, Dan, a very thick rough over there, and gonna have to pitch up for a bogey now.
There's no reason. Well, he's a little closer than I thought. Oh man, you're not happy with those bids. It just doesn't seem like it had a chance. Maybe there's a little bit more wind than what we see. Yeah, that one it's like the other one dropped and that one was held up. It's like, how do you decide what kind of putt you're going to do when you see those two different reactions?
Dan, if I had an answer to that question, I would be a much better disc golfer than I currently am. So,
oh man,
this is the challenge of putting in the wind. You can see those banners are just absolutely whipping in the background. And this is disc golf in the Midwest. Nice birdie for GT Hancock to end the front nine. Gets himself back under par, but some struggles across the board on this lead card for round 2. As we're going to take a look at the rest of the top 10. Let's see if anybody else is making some moves and taking advantage of these opportunities. Braden Sides, Micah Groth, Nick Gill, Evan Walker making some moves up the leaderboard. We'll see if they can find their way onto the lead card for the third and final round. But we still got 9 holes. Until then, I'm Nathan Johnson for Dan Brooks Wells. We'll see you next time.